important is this decision?
Absolutely historical, unprecedented in the recent years. We have been going through hard times. Today, we're sleeping very peacefully. And we can only congratulate Numsa, the affiliate of Saftu, who took up this matter for years, from 2015, as you can imagine. And I think that the court have come to the conclusion that says Section 23 of the Constitution, in terms of our Bill of Rights, guarantee workers a right to fair labor practice, and to keep workers beyond 3 months on temporal basis, and to allow labor broker company to insert itself as a third party in a relationship that should exist between the worker and the employee, and the employer rather, is unfair. So
practically it simply means more security, and more security perhaps of tenure as far as jobs are concerned.
Absolutely, but it also means that finally we can give a meaning to the ILO convention that says there should be equal pay for work of equal value. The system where today we have basically millions of workers trapped in an arrangement where they, beyond 3 months, continue to work for the labor brokers who take a big cut of their salaries as a way of generating profit for themselves, have come to an end. The labor brokering companies now have up to only 3 months. After 3 months, they must step aside, and they must allow the worker and their employer to continue a relationship of two people, of two parties.
Numsa's been fighting this, as you say, since 2015. Why has it taken so long?
Well, that's unfortunately how things work in the labor front. They went to the CCMA and took up a case of 22 workers who were being planted by this labor broker assigned services, and they won. The CCMA commissioner said the interpretation of the Labor Relations Act in terms of Section 198A is absolutely categorical. The labor brokers can do their job. They can provide services to the employer by providing workers to them, but after 3 months, they must step aside. And from that point on, the worker must receive the same benefit as all other permanent workers, or that accrue to all permanent workers.
Where does this leave labor brokers now, and are you expecting in some form or another a counterpunch from them?
They will. They will try to undermine this victory. Firstly, if unions are not going to be strong to monitor and enforce, this victory will be as good as something that is only written in a paper. Remember, the paper accepts anything written on it. It doesn't guarantee workers anything until it is transformed into a reality. And that's going to be our responsibility moving forward. Secondly...
Well, hang on. Given the scope and scale of labor brokerage in this country, how do you plan to do that?
It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. Firstly, we plan to play big, and we thank you for having this interview so that workers are made aware. That's the first step. The media can hopefully spread the news that workers have now scored this major victory in 2018. So the second part is that the responsibility now falls on the shoulders of each and every union and federations, in Saftu in particular.
But the problem is that unions are often not capacitated in that respect, are they?
They only represent 24% of all workers in the country. So there's 76% of workers who may not be impacted upon by this change, by this victory. And that's why we must hurry up, make sure that we have recruitment campaigns, in particular where it matters most. Workers who may not be impacted upon by all the changes are where the union's penetration is very low. Farm workers, the retail workers, the domestic workers, and
those are the sectors that you would be worried about and focusing on.
That will require this piece of law and its enforcement more than any other one. In the big factories, there are unions who will enforce this, but in the small workplaces, in the marginalized workplaces where workers who are more vulnerable, it is going to be very hard. And that's why we want to roll out a campaign. We propose, for example, to our unions that we must convene on Monday command centers across the country to say to ourselves, how do we now go to each and every mall, every shopping complex, every farm, taxi rank, every bus security and cleaning worker.
And is this
to
a
say to them-
multilateral approach? Are the different union federations able to work together on this?
Well, we hope
Given
that...
often the fractious nature of the relationship?
Regrettably, this may not be possible because other federations still seem to be very happy with the status quo. We not. And that's why we have formed the Saftu as an independent, militant, democratic, and campaigning federation to ensure that we reach out to the 76% of workers who are now outside the trade unions.
What about the spectre of job losses as a result of this? Some companies have complained that this ruling is going to have an adverse effect on profitability. It could destabilize the labor market simply because they will lay people off or won't employ under a new dispensation.
Look, there is no employer for a minute that employs anybody for charity. Every worker that employs a person does so because there is a desperate need for them to employ a worker. That need will not disappear because there is a ruling of this kind. But what is, however, true is that surely if you have not been paying your workers medical aid whilst you're paying others medical aid, if you have not been giving them the provident fund and we have not been giving them housing and other type of allowances, whilst we are giving the permanent workers those same allowances, this ruling now says, sorry, you're going to have to treat all workers the same. As soon as they have completed their 3 months, you have to do that. By the way, our lawyers are saying that the rulings actually say this ruling of today is going to have to be applied retrospectively, meaning that from April of 2015, when the Labor Relations Act was amended, everybody that have been treated unfairly and where the principle of equal pay and for work of equal value have been undermined, you can now go to the employer and say, you have not been paying me my provident fund, my medical aid, my transport, my housing allowance. You have treated me unfairly.
And how many people
Please pay.
might that involve, do you think?
Oh, we're talking millions of workers here. This is why we're saying that this decision is absolutely very big. This is the biggest thing that we have achieved for workers.
But retrospectively, Mr. Vavi, a lot of companies might simply be unable to meet the demands that are being put on.
They will have to talk to workers. They will have to open the books and say that this is what we can do. Maybe we can negotiate of how we can implement that decision over a period of time. It may be that it's not possible to do that right away. But the decision requires massive celebrations across the country from tonight and going months and months into the future.